What's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is April 1st. Overall markets, as you can see, nice relief bounce yesterday. So, overall markets gap up yesterday, nice push up and towards that 642. And of course, we had some news in a midday, war news pushing the markets higher. Nice push up into close, and now you can see the overall markets are rallying here in the pre-market. So nice kind of bounce here on the overall SPY and Qs. Expecting a relief bounce, but of course with the news here as well. We'll kind of talk about this. A couple of major news events that we have coming up as well. Trump is going to be speaking tonight, so that is something to keep in mind. But that being said, let's go on to the economic calendar. Before we do that, what's up, everyone? Good morning. What's up, Victor? P1, B Roots. Good morning, TW, Cody, Maria, Hosman. Good afternoon, Andy. Good morning, Maria, Chris, Monty, Martin, Big Up, Robert, Arnold, Gerald, Knight. Good morning, John. Okay, so let's pull up the economic calendar here. So the major news event that we had yesterday, of course, was the war news. That was the reason why we end up having that nice pop towards the upside. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, there's the negotiations with the war coming to an end. We are going to have President Trump speaking tonight as well. So that is something to keep in mind. So let's pull up the economic calendar and let's talk about some of the red folder news that we have coming to market open. So we do have some more red folder news that is going to be at 8:15. ADP non-farm enrollment change. You have the core retail sales. That's going to be at 8:30. ISM manufacturing at 10 a.m. But of course, the main thing here is going to be President Trump speaking later tonight regarding the war. That is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as you can see here, the main thing, of course, is going to be that war news. Everything else is, of course, secondary, right? It is important, but compared to the ongoing things that we do have, the war is going to take precedent no matter what. So let's hop straight into the charts to see exactly what we're looking for coming to market open. As for the higher time frames, right, overall SPY and Qs down about 10%, right into key levels of support, right? Similar thing here with SPY as well, right? If you're looking for kind of dip ads on long term, the dollar cost averaging, especially when the VIX is at 30, that's a good time to kind of deploy cash. As for the overall markets here now, day trading wise, right, kind of midday pop, already back up and towards this 585. So we'll talk about this level here in a second. But for the overall markets, let's actually just go on to the daily time frame. So yesterday we kind of talked about the SPY. Key levels that we have marked out was at 650. Next level that we have is our 630 and all the way down in towards our 600. So broke underneath 650 last week, came down in towards our 630 this week. A little bit of buyers stepping in. And as you can see, we're kind of getting this nice relief bounce here on both the SPY and the QQQ. So if you go back into the daily chart, right, so far we are finding a short-term bottom, right? With the war news, we kind of talked about this catalyst that is going to push the markets back towards the upside. Does this mean that the markets are going to fully reverse back up and towards our all-time highs? No, not necessarily, just because we already had that push down with the war. Sorry, we already had that push down before the war news. So the war news kind of just accelerated this push lower. So now with the war news, right, most likely it might come to an end, right? We're going to get this nice rally to basically where we originally were before the war that we had, which is kind of back up and towards that 660. But if you go into the SPY chart coming into market open here today, the key levels that we have marked out, what we had marked out yesterday was at 645, looking for a push up and towards that 645 on the higher time frames. Other levels that we have marked out here now is going to be that 655 along with our 662. So as you can see, this was the war news that we had last week, that we had that original pop towards the upside. Now you can see we had some more war news yesterday, and now what we can expect is, right, kind of that 655 and eventually a push up and towards that 662, which was our last week's key high. So let's go back onto the lower time frames coming into market open here today. As you can see, nice push up in towards yesterday's close. Key levels that we have marked out is gonna be that previous day highs. So for the SPY, gapping up here in the overnight session, right up in towards that 655. What we would like to see for some upside now on the SPY, based off the hourly chart, based off the higher time frames, is really just a hold above that 646. As long as you can maintain above that 646, we're going to continue towards the upside. Obviously, this is a fairly steep pullback. Most likely it is now just going to continue higher before it ends up having any sort of pullback. So for the SPY, I'd like to see the push up in towards our 660 along with that 662. So for the SPY coming to market open here today, what we're going to keep an eye out on is going to be that 656. If you do want to see some upside, now above our 656, hold above that level for a continued push towards our 660 and above. Another possible scenario, if we do get some sort of pullback, we could be looking for that previous day high bounce off that 651 for continuation towards the upside here as well. So for the SPY, a nice push up yesterday with the war news, gapping up here in the overnight session. Any sort of pullback that we do have, I like to see kind of get bought up for continuation up and towards our 660 here on the SPY. If we're looking at the ES, the key levels that we have marked out here is that news candle low from last week. You can see a little bit of reaction yesterday, and then once we had some more news, broke above that key level, and now what we have here is our basically our 6600. This is the area that we broke down from. Multiple touches earlier last week, broke underneath that key level, continuation lower. Now we're essentially reclaiming back above our 6580. As long as you can maintain above this level moving forward, I like to see now this push up in towards our last week's highs. So as you can see, multiple touches here on the ES. If we go back onto the lower time frames, nice little reaction here yesterday, broke above it. And as you can see, resistance now turning into support here for the ES. So coming into market open here, let's mark out this 6580s. If you do want to see continuation higher, base above this level for this push up in towards our pre-market highs and above, which will be our 6680 here on the higher time frames. Another possible scenario here for the ES coming into market open, break above our pre-market highs, hold above that level for this push towards the upside here as well. The only way you're interested in some downside, most likely, the only way the market does end up pushing lower, at least for today, is if we have any sort of news that does drop. But President Trump is going to be speaking later today, so not expecting any sort of major pullback on the SPY or the Qs. We could see this gap fill down in towards our previous day highs. But the main thing now is going to be, at least for today, is going to be any sort of major pullback that we like to see get bought up for a push up and towards potentially the 6680 here on the higher time frames. So now let's go on to the QQQ chart. As you can see, the Q's chart here as well, breaking back above this news candle low that we had from last week. So as you can see right here, breaking back above key levels, flipping back above here now. For the NQ, similar thing to the ES, really next level here on the higher time frames, 24,600. So I would like to see the market kind of slowly start gravitating back up and towards this level. We could see this retest, which would be nice off that 23,800. We'll see if we can get this retest. But now we like to see that push up and towards our 24,600 here. Let's go back onto the lower time frames, key levels, as I mentioned. Now what I have marked out is that pre-market highs. Other levels is the area that we broke back above here, 23,800. So coming into market open here for the SPY, sorry, this is for the NQ, break above this 24,200. Pre-market highs for continuation towards the upside. Another possible scenario, if we do get that pullback down in towards that previous day highs, this is a good area as well for continuation back towards the upside. All right, so this is what we have for the NQ coming into market open. If we now go on to the QQQ, let's go on to the higher time frames here. Similar thing, nice kind of reclaim back above our news candle low from last week. Next level here is going to be all the way back up and towards that 592. So as you can see here, this was the area that we broke down last week, Nice kind of bottom here. News as well, pushing price back towards the upside. Now we're basically back in between the range that we had from last week. I would like to see any sort of pullback that we do have, right, continue and be bought up and towards this 592 and above. So for the Qs, break above here, continuation up and towards this 592 as well. Let's go back onto the lower time frames here for the Qs coming into market open. Right, key levels that we are going to have marked out 582, and then we also have our 576. So coming into market open, if you do want to see some upside, right above our 582 for continuation towards the upside. If we do get that pullback down and towards that previous day highs, this is also a nice area for a dip for continuation back towards the highs here as well. So these are the scenarios that I have for upside coming into market open. Downside is in play, but as I mentioned, it would just be this kind of quick scalp coming into market open. Rejections kind of off this 584. SPY, it would have to be the rejection off that 586 for this gap fill down in towards that previous day high. So for the SPY and Qs, I would like to see that pullback down in towards that previous day highs. We'll see if we can get that coming to market open. But with this kind of big move in the overnight session once again, if we are looking for any intraday momentum, I would like to see a lot of it on the tech side. Just with the kind of the markets bottoming here, at least a short-term bottom for now on the SPY and Qs. A lot of these tech names have been beaten down. So I would like to see now, right, a lot of these names have some sort of dead cat bounce, right? Microsoft, Google, Meta, we'll talk about these names here in a second. At least for the SPY and Qs, with it finding some sort of short-term bottom, we would like to see a lot of these tech names start bouncing here as well. So we'll talk about that here in a second. We did have some red folder news, as I mentioned, which was the ADP non-farm enrollment. All right, we had some news here, as I mentioned, ADP non-farm enrollment at 8:15. Numbers came in, forecasted 41K, actual 62K. So as you can see here, the overall market, as I mentioned, the main thing moving forward is going to be that war news that we have tonight with President Trump speaking. We do have core retail sales, which is about to come out in another 15 minutes, and then the ISM manufacturing, which is about 30 minutes after the market opens. The main thing, as I talked about, is going to be that war news at later during the night with President Trump. As for the overall markets, let's head on to the SMH, and then we'll head on to some tech names here now as well. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below here as well. Okay, so for the SMH, candle close underneath that 370 here on the higher time frames. So far, that weekly candle is forming nicely, and buyers are stepping in. Most likely, we're gonna have a strong weekly candle close, and then markets are gonna potentially push back up and towards 400 here and above. So for the SMH, strong candle close, but immediate buyer stepping in, reclaiming back above that 370, and now you can see a nice kind of continuation back up and towards the highs. For the SMH here, and moving forward, right, kind of broke outside this range, but immediately reclaimed back above. Now what I like to see is this push back up and towards our 400 here on the SMH. For the IWM, similar thing, bouncing off these lows, push back up and towards your 252. All right, let's go on to the tech names that we have coming into market open. Let's go on to Tesla number one. So Tesla, as you can see here on the higher time frames, key levels that we have marked out, 360. Nice bounce so far here off our 360. We also do have this downtrend break coming up here as well. So for Tesla, let's keep an eye out on this one. I do like this one, bouncing off support. Overall market starting to find a bottom here as well. So we'll keep an eye out on Tesla for this potential downtrend. We've already had multiple touches off this general area. Broke underneath towards the downside, but now as we come up once again, I would like to see eventually that break reclaim back above for that continuation above this 380. So keep an eye out on Tesla. It might not set up today with this gap up, But moving forward here on Tesla, I do like this setup forming on the daily time frame for the break back above that 380 along with that 388. We can see a nice kind of dead cat bounce. Plus, if we do reclaim, we can see a nice push back up and towards 400 and above. So for Tesla coming into market open, the key levels that I do have marked out today is going to be that 370. Other levels that I have marked out is going to be that 380. So let's go back on to the lower time frames. Key levels that we have marked out coming into today is going to be that 380 here on the higher time frame. So as you can see, nice bounce off that 350 general area yesterday, gap up, and then of course with news as well, and then another gap up coming into market open. So for Tesla here coming into today, what we have marked out previous day highs along with this 380. If we do want to see some upside on Tesla, as I mentioned, we do have a higher time frame downtrend break for Tesla up and towards a key level here now as well. Basically the area that we broke down from last week. What we would like to see is really one of two things, right? The break above that 380, hold above that 380 for that continuation towards the upside, or now we'd be wanting to see that pullback down in towards that previous day highs for that pushback towards the upside here as well off that 371. A lot of these names, I would like to see a potential previous day high retest. It is a little bit farther away. And for the SPY and Qs, it would have to get that previous day high retest as well for a lot of these tech names. But overall, I like to see any sort of like major dip be bought up. At least for today, we'll see what shapes up. The main thing, of course, is tonight with Trump speaking. That is going to be on the War News later today. So we'll see what shapes up coming into the market open here on the major indices and a bunch of these tech names. But at least for Tesla, this is what we have coming to market open, right? Shorts are in play for a push down in towards that previous day close. But the shorts, you'd have to be a little bit more aggressive on the SPY and Qs today. And you'd have to see a sharp rejection right off the bat if you do want to be looking for this gap fill reversal on any sort of ticker today. As for Nvidia, similar thing here, coming down in towards that range low, and now nice buyers are stepping in. So as you can see right here, key level support that we have marked out, basically this 160. Now the next level that we have is our 190. So buyers are stepping in off this general area. Let's see if we can get that push on Nvidia back up and towards our 180 and potentially this 190 here on the higher time frame. So nice buyers stepping in right off of this key level of support, as you can see right here, 164. And now we're getting this push back up and towards that 180. So if we go back onto Nvidia here on the lower time frames, really the next level that I have, back up and towards that 180 last week's lows. Other levels that we can have marked out here now as well can be our previous day highs. And we can drag this over and mark this out here as well. So for Nvidia coming into market open, key levels that we have marked out is going to be that previous day highs, 174. We can also mark out this kind of pre-market high general area is this 177. So if you do want to see some upside on Nvidia, I do like this one quite a bit. So let's keep an eye out on this ticker above our pre-market highs. Push up and towards that 180 is in play, or now that previous day high bounce here off that 174, which I like a little bit better for that continuation towards the upside here. So keep an eye out on Nvidia off our 174 previous day highs for continuation. Right back in between the key levels, what I basically like to see is now higher lows be built for this push back up and towards our last week's highs, 180. So this is what we have for Nvidia coming into market open. AMD trying to reclaim back above key levels here now as well. So this one just kind of came from the low of the range. Now we're reclaiming back above this 208. This is a key level here. So what would I like to see on AMD coming to market open is the break back above this 207, 208 here on the higher time frame. So multiple touches. Nice break above last week, but a little bit of rejection now above our 207. Continuation back towards the upside here on AMD. So this is the key level 207 for continuation towards the upside. As for a few other tickers, nice kind of bounce just off our key levels of support. So for Apple, bouncing here off this 247. Now we're back up and towards this 255. The key levels that we have marked out, it's just this key level support. Now we just like to see the break back above our 255 for continuation towards the upside, if we can get above that. As for Google and Microsoft and a bunch of these names, these ones are having nice bounces. So this doesn't mean that the overall market is not going to, or sorry, the overall market is going to just reverse here and head back up and towards all-time highs, right? Is that a possible scenario? Yes. Is that likely? Right, we'll see. Right, the main thing, as I mentioned, is the war news. But this is, as I mentioned, that short-term bottom that we do have. The war news catalyst, and the end of the war is going to be that catalyst that fuels the move back towards the upside on all the names, right? The major indices, all the tech names. That was the major catalyst that essentially dropped from here, the overall market towards the downside. And then, of course, if we have the war ending, we're going to see that push at least minimum back up and towards the 600 here, and then SPY back up and towards that 570 general area. So for the Google, let's go back onto this one, right? Nice push towards the downside. Now we're getting this nice V-shaped recovery. We're now just coming right back up in towards our key level of support, now turning into resistance. So this is a key level here on Nvidia this is a key level here on Google moving forward, which is just our higher time frame level of support. Now we'll see if we end up using this level as a rejection for a continued push lower. So as you can see here, mini bounce off that 270. Let's see the reaction that we have off this 290. Very much can reject off this level and continue back towards the downside. So for something like Google, right now we're just getting this bounce, which was expected. Keep an eye out on this 294. This is going to be the key area. So I would like to see a push up and towards that 294 today. Key levels that you are going to have marked out is going to be that previous day highs. Push this down into that 286, and that's going to be your key level. So for Google coming to market open, bounce play here off our previous day highs, push up and towards that 294 here now is in play. As for Microsoft coming into market open here, dip ad's been working nicely on Microsoft so far, right off that 360. Still in a very good spot here, as I mentioned. If you're looking for any sort of names for long term, right, we're in a good area for risk reward wise, right? Whenever the VIX is above 30, right, SPY and Q is about 10% drop. That's a good area to start kind of dollar cost averaging into some names. It's a good area to kind of deploy cash whenever the VIX is above 30. So for Microsoft here, 360 here on the higher time frames. What I would like to see moving forward in my kind of game plan is Microsoft. I would like to see this mean reversion bounce off this 360 for a push back up and towards 400 and above. So this is my buy area here on Microsoft. I like to see a push back up and towards 400. At least for the lower time frames wise, Microsoft, as I mentioned, nice kind of bounce above our previous day highs here as well. Key level now that we have marked out is our 374. What I would like to see is now the hold above our 374, push up in towards our 378 and potentially above. So keep an eye out on Microsoft coming to market open here. Nice kind of bounce yesterday. Now we're above our previous day highs. A little bit of reaction here in the pre-market. I would like to see this hold. 374 hold now for continuation back up and towards 377 and above, which will be our 380. Let's go back on to Meta. Meta, another one beaten down quite a bit. Key levels that we have marked out, 520. Now we're about to retest our 580, which was the area that we broke down from. So for Meta, key levels that we have marked out, as you can see, touch here, another touch right off this 585. Now what we like to see is the reaction that we have off this 580 on Meta, right? If you're looking to buy a dip, right, it doesn't make sense if you're buying right back up towards this 580, right? There's a couple of things. If you're long-term investing, right, the best in this case, which is undefeated, is just kind of dollar cost averaging into a couple names. Especially when the SPY and Qs is down about 10%, the VIX is above 30. That's a good time to, right, start adding into positions, kind of dollar cost averaging. It's still in a good area right now. Of course, you like to see some sort of pullback and you like to buy on major dips. But for now, right, for Meta, if you're looking for a day trade, right, obviously that's taking it day by day. But if you're long-term investing, that's kind of a different outlook that you have. As for Meta here now, we're about to retest this 580. This is an area that we very much well can reject. So keep this in mind. For Meta, the key levels that we do have, as I mentioned, is the area that essentially we broke down from. So Meta coming to market open, nice kind of bounce. This is the key area. Once we ended up gapping lower, push towards the downside. Now we like to see the reaction here off that 584. If you go into the lower time frames, key levels that we have marked out, previous day highs, drag this over. Meta was one of the names that led the market back towards the upside yesterday, even before we had the news right above our previous day highs. Similar thing with Microsoft and Google. What we like to see is the bounce play off our previous day highs for a push up in towards that 585 here on the higher time frame. So let's keep an eye on the reaction that we have off our 570. If we can maintain above that 570, continuation up and towards that 585. Amazon key levels that we have marked out coming to market open. Not really too much to talk about on Amazon. This one's the one that's kind of just been consolidating inside of this range that we've had. But for Amazon, it is going to come back up and towards that 212. Multiple reactions off that level. We'd like to see it above 212 for continuation. If it rejects, we're going to come right back down in towards that 207. So that's what we have for Amazon. And then for Netflix, let's keep an eye on Netflix coming to market open. One of my favorite names here on the daily chart. As you can see, gap up. Nice consolidation. Now we like to see the break back above this 96 and continuation back up and towards this 100. So let's keep an eye on Netflix coming to market open. This one's shaping up nicely here on the 4 hour, shaping up nicely on the hourly chart. If we look at this one, downtrend break that we had, now we're retesting the back of the trend line, breaking back above this 96 here as well, kind of forming this W-shaped recovery. What I would like to see is now this push up and towards our 100 key psych level. So for Netflix, I like this one for push up and towards our 100. Now the overall markets are finding a mini bottom here now as well. So for Netflix, nice break back above. Let's keep an eye out on our previous day highs along with our 95. I like to see maintain above this for a potential push up, 97 and 99. So Netflix, as I mentioned, looks good, reclaiming back above that 95 for a push up and towards our 100 key psych level. So a couple names bouncing here. As I mentioned, with the overall markets, we have some room towards the upside with the SPY and Qs. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over here now. We also had some more red folder news, which we'll kind of talk about here, which was that core retail sales. But if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below as well. Okay. So we had the numbers come out for the core retail sales. As you can see here, 0.3%, actual 0.5%. As for the retail sales month over month, forecasted 0.5, it came in at a 0.6%. So as you can see here for the overall markets, really SPY and Qs right in towards a key level. We end up having a nice push later into the day, of course, with the news, and now in the overnight session and in the pre-market, push up and towards this 584, which happens to be essentially the area that we broke down from last week, right? Last Thursday. So the overall markets back up and towards key levels since last Thursday. Similar thing here on the SPY as well. I am at least coming to market open. Right, it's going to be a little bit tough for longs, right? We already had such a nice push towards the upside. The best long positions was, of course, closer to that 646. Now the next best area for longs is going to be that previous day highs, right? If we can get some sort of pullback coming to market open closer to our previous day highs, that's going to be a good area for a potential trade coming into market open. A lot of the setups, as I mentioned, have not been really happening right at New York Open. A lot of the moves have been happening later into the day or in the overnight session just because we have the war news, which can drop anytime, right? Either midday or in the overnight session, which has been happening a lot more. So for the SPY and Qs, another push up in the pre-market. If we do want to see a trade today, similar thing, we need that pullback down in towards that previous day highs. If it kind of consolidates coming into market open and then breaks above that 584, then we could be looking for continuation towards the highs here as well. But the best would be that pullback long in towards that previous day high for continuation back towards the upside. So coming to market open, let's see if we can get that pullback long here on the SPY and Qs. As for some other names, right, Tesla looks good here on the daily chart. We'll see if it sets up like coming to market open, but we had that daily downtrend that we talked about. This is going to be one of my main setups moving forward. If we can reclaim back above that 380 that we have marked out for that push back towards the upside. As for everything else, let's go into a couple more names that we do have. For your opinion for shorts, you would get in if you see an immediate rejection off resistance levels on market open. So if you're looking for a potential gap fill reversal, right, you could be looking for an aggressive short, right? It might be a little bit more difficult, but the trade, at least right off market open, would be that gap fill short towards the downside. If you get an immediate rejection here off your 656 for a push down in towards your previous day close, right? So it'd be some sort of right kind of rejection. You can look to trade this down in towards that 652, right? I'll be a little bit more cautious on this one, but that is definitely in play. You have to be more aggressive. What I'd be looking for would be the retest off of our previous day high. So if price came back down in towards that previous day highs, I'd much rather take this back towards the upside. Similar thing here with the SPY and Qs as well. I'd much rather wait for the rejection if it came back down and look to trade this back towards the upside. All right, let's go on to a few other tickers here. Palantir bouncing nicely off the lows right back up in towards the key level, which in this case is our 150. Be cautious here on Palantir. Very much well could see a rejection and a pushback down in towards our previous day highs. Longs, you want to see some sort of pullback here as well. So Palantir, keep an eye on this 150. As for a few other tickers, a couple of these semis, along with some memories, finally starting to show a little bit of buyers stepping in here. MU. Now what you like to see is a reaction here off our 360. So let's keep an eye out on MU 360 coming into market open. As for SNDK, this one is holding up compared to the rest of the names. Key levels that we have marked out on SNDK is our 660 here, along with that 622. So for SNDK coming to market open, bounce play here off our 640, continuation up and towards that 660 here. Right at a key level. So be cautious of that. As for everything else, right, you have a lot of names kind of setting up here. You just want to be cautious. The main thing is, as I mentioned, the war news that we do have. Trump is going to be speaking tonight. So we'll see what happens. That is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at least for the markets opening coming into today. Right after this nice push, we do want to see any sort of major pullback. If we do want to go look long in the markets, I'm really not interested in looking longs right up and towards that 584. Much rather see some sort of pullback down in towards your previous day previous day highs or your previous day close for that continuation higher. Similar thing here with SPY. I don't really want to be looking long up into that 656. Much rather see a pullback down in towards that 650 or even right that 646 here on the higher time frames. As for my main watches that I do like, Nvidia, keep an eye out on Nvidia off our previous day highs coming to market open. Semis showing some nice strength here as well. So AMD is something we can keep an eye out for, but Nvidia is my main watch coming into today off that previous day highs. Tesla, this one we can keep an eye out for here as well. Previous day highs is in play. I like Nvidia along with AMD the best. And then other names we can keep an eye out for that have been bouncing nicely here. Google, right? Keep an eye out on this one. Previous day highs. Microsoft, similar thing, above our previous day highs. And then Meta here as well, 570. Another name that we don't normally look at, but that is shaping up here on the higher time frames is Netflix. So this one breaking back above our 95 key psych. If we can maintain above our 95, we can see a push up and towards 97, 98, and potentially 100 here on Netflix. So keep an eye out on Netflix, kind of finding this bottom here as well, potential inverse head and shoulders. For a push back up and towards that 100 key psych. So a couple names that we can be looking for today. As I mentioned, we would like to see any sort of major pullback down in towards that previous day highs or our higher time frame key levels. We'll see what shapes up coming into market open. But the same game plan kind of still applies here, right? A lot of the moves have been happening later into the day or in the overnight session. Similar thing today, right? With Trump speaking at 9 p.m. Not expecting too much. If we do have a move, most likely we're going to have that like slow kind of grind back up and towards the upside before Trump speaks during 9 o'clock. But if we are looking for longs, as I mentioned, previous day highs is going to be key coming into market open. Yeah, besides that, I am going to call it a day here. If you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. Yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.